This is the gypsy skirt technique, and what's different from this ruffle skirt to this ruffle skirt I did at the very beginning with the jersey waistband is that the ruffles are not separate, but they are in fact attached to each other. So this is a very simple to make skirt. There's no pattern for it. I'm going to show you how to draw it. All it is rectangles. Please, you can do it, right? So I'm going to show you how this works, and it's basically one layer put onto the next, and thus of course it gets a lot bigger. Let's have a little quick look here. We've got a beautiful little bow attached in places so it can't move, a ribbon, and then just the layers attached one to each other and give you that beautiful width and twirl effect. And on the inside we've got all the seams overlocked, and it just fits over the hips, so it's just 1 to 2 inches bigger. So let's get cracking and make this skirt. So let's see how we can draw a very quick and very simple pattern for this. One of the important things is that you know what the hip measurement is. So if you know what that is, then you can add 2 inches to it really for ease so that you can get it over. And then I am going to work this gypsy skirt with a side seam, because under the ruffle foot that's actually the easiest way to work with it. So the first thing to do is to draw yourself a line. It's just the waistband. Basically we're working rectangles here, but it's not hard to do. So I'm actually going for 62 centimeters because the waist or the hips are only like 57. So she's got like 5 centimeters, that's 2 inches ease, so 24. So go up 2 inches. And then you want to divide that by 2, and that will give you then each side. And then we're getting to 31 centimeters or 12 inches. I'm going to just measure 31 centimeters. That's 15.5 either way. From there, 15.5. You can add that centimeter seam allowance if you want to. I'm just going to do that now, just in case. So we have got enough. Draw down. And draw down on the other side. Now this is actually the waistband, which is going to be folded in, and it's going to have the elastic inside of it. So you got to make this decision now how wide your elastic is, and if it is 1 inch. Right, so you need to have that 1/4 inch seam allowance, then you have 1 inch, and then we're going down another inch because obviously got to come over itself, and then another 1/4 inch. So that gets me to, what is that, 3 inches, and in centimeters that would be, I will go for 7. Better to have a bit of movement room anyway. Go for like round it upwards a little bit, and then I draw across there. So I now know that's the waistband, right? And then I need to decide how long I want to have the first layer. 10 looks good here, so I'm just going to add a centimeter to what I've just thought looks good and go to there. So basically this is the only pattern I need, and this is why I don't think you need to buy any patterns that have this kind of skirt. You make that yourself. So now I'm going to jump ahead to the finished article just to explain how you work out how much fabric you have to buy to get all these layers. So from this piece that you've worked out, do yourself a sample, gather something to the bottom, see how much that is so that you can work out how much more you need. Every ruffler foot is slightly different, so you want to have one test, but once you've done it once you never need to do it again. I very quickly found out for my setting, just do it all times 2. I think it's important to have the full length. Now the longest one at the very bottom will be 2 meters and 7. Now no fabric is that wide, so I would recommend that you buy the 2 meters 7 or 2 meters 20 just to be on the safe side. Cut the fabric this way along so that you do not get any joins. That is so much nicer than having them. If you've only got rests left like I do here, then well, you know, you can just see it at the finished article here. It's not really a big deal if you've got a join in the lower layer, because actually I can't even see it. But if it's prominent like in the middle here or in the middle there, that would not be very nice. I've actually chosen to do this 10 centimeters wide Yeah, so I needed them 12 wide, so I have the seam allowance in there. And then down here I've cut myself all the rest that I had together, and that is a width of 7. So whatever was the measurement for up here, I needed to times that by 2 for this layer, times that by 2 for this layer, and times this by 2 for that layer. So here we have attached our ruffler foot, and I'm going to put the setting on 1. That's the tightest. I'm going to release my little dial and move it up as far as it can go. There you go. So that goes underneath it. This goes over the top with the right side facing down. So I'm just getting it so it lies on the 1 centimeter. I've got it. So now I can just move my ruffle straight again as well. When you're sewing, it's important you line up with a 1.5, not the 1. It'll slide out. You want to be in the 1.5 so that when it slides over that way, it'll still work. And I'm just going to sew it on now. Get that. It just gathers nicely. Let's see how much it will gather as well. Love it. The other thing you might have to do is to put in a really strong needle, 90 I would recommend. Then we're going to put the next layer on and hope for not too much motor overload. And you're going to put this layer underneath it, and you start there, and you can see it's going to go out a little bit. We're going to taper this a bit afterwards. And again, you slide it under to the 1 centimeter, line it up with a 1.5 there though, so it can't slip out, because that's really annoying. And then you just go. And I've just made a discovery. This is the one from Joann's, and it keeps sliding over that way, the whole thing. So then it gets stuck. So I have to move it back into position. So, see, like that. And then you can literally feel it like a clicking. And then move it back over. So yeah, a good one, especially made for your machine, might actually be a good call. And I'm just gonna cut this from here. There we go. So it's really nice. Lots of steam. There we go. Don't worry about these being a bit flattened, because actually that is nicer than them looking all puffy. And then you do the same, you're going up. And then later on we can top stitch them down, or you could even put a ribbon. The other thing we need to do is to overlock this, obviously. So I'm going to overlock this. I could have done that before I pressed it, obviously, but I'm going to do it now so it's all nice and clean. So when you've overlocked it all, you close your side seam, and then once that is shut, you can leave a gap here so you can get your elastic in. And I've ironed in 1 centimeter over and then 3.5 centimeters down. And what that is, let me just show you. This is my elastic that's going to go through there. And what you want is a little bit of a gap on this side and a little bit of a gap there, because we're going to top stitch it. If it's too tight in there, it'll look really horrible. It won't sit right. So you need that tiny little gap there. That's what, 2 or 3 millimeters, just so it can move on the inside. And I've ironed it all the way around. And then once it's ironed, and you closing your, you could close your side seam after, so you can actually see where you need to leave it open, because obviously I could not work it out in my head where to leave it open. So some people think I'm so terribly clever. I'm just good at sewing, but I tell you what, I don't think I really am that clever, because as you can see, I kept leaving it open in the wrong area, or not enough, or whatever. So anyway, this is how it should be, so that when this is rolled in like that, plenty of space there to push my elastic through. Okay, so I can now pin all this all the way around. I can just top stitch it, and now I've stitched it in. You can see here the gap where it's left open, I've also just quickly turned up the hem. It's literally just turn it over, get your stitch length to 3, and then stitch it through from the left side, from the wrong side, sorry. So the waist of Magdalena is 53, okay, so that's there. This is what we're gathering already, and you just need to make it quite a bit smaller, so you don't even need to measure this much. It kind of goes in stages. We've got the hip, we've got the waist, and then this bit needs to be smaller, else it's going to be like too wide. Let's have a look. Oh, it's 44, so 53, that's about 10 centimeters less, that's like 4 inches less, and I'm going to cut that here, 4 inches less than you actually need. And then that'll overlap, and that'll give her like a nice fit. Don't forget that once we stitch through this, and I'm going to stitch through it a few times, it's also going to stretch the elastic. So this is going to come out like that. Okay, so, and at that point it's going to be perfect fit. Don't make the elastic too long. A lot of people do because they think for comfort and stuff, but actually you don't want to do that. So now all I have to do is get in here with my elastic. I always put my safety pin at the bottom, so I don't need to mark this or anything. I'm just going to go around. That's not going to twist because it's wide and you can see it. And here it comes. I'll pop it through. Overlap like a centimeter that way and centimeter that way. There we go. See, a few stitches, and now I'm going to just push it in. And if I measure this now, I'm going to go across here. That's 46 already. Yeah, so it goes bigger as you work with it, and it's actually going to go a little bit bigger than that still if I stitch through here, which I'm going to do. I'm going to put this underneath the sewing machine, and I'm going to do 2 lines of stitching there and there, and so that this one isn't gapy and open. You don't need to even close this. I'm not going to close this. I'm just attaching it to my elastic with 2 pins like that, so it doesn't gape open, at least not horribly, when I stitch over it. Now I have top stitched this here. Some of you might ask, well, how do you know the distance? And actually, before you start top stitching, you can just mark it. So you've got 3 equal parts, and then you do keep the same distance all the way around. So at this point with the skirt lovely and done, or looking like all frilly and everything is lovely, we can say, yes, let's do some stuff with it. Now I have seen lots of options here. For example, some people have put, and you can do that after as well, they've just sewn over a bit here. It would be nice if it was attached inside, but actually no need. You can just put it on like that and then stitch it down, and you can make a tie which is tied in the front, so you get a bow. I've seen that a lot done, so that's quite an easy one. You could also put a little bow on here. Making a quick bow is very, very simple and not difficult at all. You need a little rectangle. The longer you make this, the more dense the bow is going to be. So if you say, okay, I think I want it denser, let's do that, and I'm going to say 27 here, and I sew that together, and then when it comes out like that and it's together, then you've got, so you can see obviously more coming on either side. So that's up to you how you want to do that. We are going to sew this together, leaving a little gap, and then we're going to sew this on either side. Bow made. All I have to do is turn it. My students always used to say, Miss, I can't get it through, can you get it through for me? And I used to pull it through for them. How silly was that? Should have said, suffer! Do it yourself! I was not a born teacher, I tell you. I was way too nice. So next, I've decided to not use this, or you can use any ribbon that you've got. We're going to do the center. So all you have to do is cut yourself a strip wide enough Let me just see how much I do this without measuring. It's 5 centimeters, and then I'm turning it in so it overlaps, so it's nice and thick. Next, you're going to thread up a needle, double thread, and a knot in the end. Then where you have the crease, you're going to do a running stitch all the way down, and that's going to gather the bow. It's really simple. Tie your thread round and secure it on the back, just so it can't go anywhere. And then we're going to wrap round. Look at that. Now you can put any center you like. I think the blue would actually be cool, but I'm going to do the red one. And it does not have to be like tidy here, so I'm going to put it on so that the right side is upwards. Then I wrap it round. When you've got it just right, cut it back. At this point you can turn it in if you like, but don't forget you're going to sew it to the skirt anyway, so it's gonna not be visible. In fact, you can get out all the stuff you got and see what else you want to put on. This is like playtime. This is the fun bit. You can say, that's nice, but I would like something really pretty to go on first. That's really nice as well. Look, I'm going to put the bow right there. That is very cool. So all I have to do is go on my sewing machine and quite literally stitch on either side of this bow. I've stitched it down. The thing I did need to make sure of is that I didn't have a pleat, and I don't know if you can see it here, but I got a pleat first, so I would suggest that once you know where you want it to be, you put a pin in here, or you quickly hand tuck it before you do it on the machine so that you don't have to unpick anything. But I think that's really very, very cute. Now, I've just discovered I've got this stuff, which is a perfect match for this. So I just love playing. So I'm going to stitch this one on here all the way around. So you just stitch either side. There's no mystery to this. Anyway, the options are endless, and it's up to you how you finish it. So now it's all done. I really like this. The only thing that's a little bit of a problem in my view is that this will just do this, right? This bow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to secure it in a few strategic places so it can't do that. So double thread, and then I'm just catching the underside, obviously, not the top. I don't really want that. And my skirt is finished. I have turned in the bottom. I've top stitched all the way around because I think it makes it look more professional. It makes it look more shopboard, and it's got an amazing amount of twirl, which seems to be very important to people. So thank you again for watching the sewing workshop. I hope I see you again next week when we're tackling transforming the patterns you've already got into nice boho and so on dresses. So I'll see you next week, and goodbye.